Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Our Thread, the podcast, bringing our content to you. I'm All It Is, and I'm here with my hoods, Beware, Cap, Doc, and Savage. And today, we bring you episode 14, Training Day versus the City of God. Two movies with lots of turmoil and corruption in both the City of Angels and the City of God, with both films ending with some hope for the main characters. But before we get into the matchup, I want to make a request that all of our Thread listeners go follow our Thread member Beware across all social platforms and streaming services. Beware has been producing music for over a decade, and each month this year he has released a new piece of work, whether it be smooth instrumental lo-fi jams or EPs and singles with Detroit's finest artists, or his latest R&B G-Funk single, Wish You'd Call Me Back, that features a West Coast legend, Butch Cassidy, and Nate Dogg's son, Inhale. Follow Beware today. You can find his music everywhere with just using his name on social platforms or simply by putting the number 4 after Beware. That's Beware 4. And while we're at it, why don't we play that intro music produced by him as well? Go!
Good morning!
Morning!
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Well, it's very, homey.
What? Are you kidding? We got us a family here.
I hope you realize how you hurt my feelings.
I'm afraid you're just too darn loud. Next place.
Just take it easy, man.
I'm perfectly confident.
Yeah, waving the fucking gun around?
Calmer than you are.
Look, I made a mistake, all right? It didn't make any difference anyway.
Hey, I'm letting it go. But don't say it doesn't matter. Every line matters.
Get off my back!
Don't fuck with my plane!
And like that, he's gone.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Our Thread podcast, bringing our content to you, featuring All It Is.
It's official, old buddy. Who has been.
Beware.
From then on, he was known as Benny the Jet Rodriguez.
The Doc.
You're the doc, Doc.
The Cap.
Oh, if you already know the answers to your questions, then why ask? Big fuck!
And myself, Savage.
I'm 6'5", 220, and there's two of them.
Homework's in. Let's begin. What do you guys think? Would you rather be a cop in a system that's trying to turn you crooked or a hood working for Little Z?
Yeah, to answer your question, All It Is, I think I got to go with first day on the job if I could choose. Both seem like pretty challenging fates, but I would have to say that being Jake, he has the opportunity to like stand, he's an adult man. He can stand on his 2 feet and stand his ground and fight for what he believes in. And I feel like with those young hoods, they really just didn't have that much of a choice. So working for Lil Z sounds like more of a nightmare because he's psycho.
He might be the craziest one we have. Obviously, we've had No Country for Old Men and Sugar.
His name's Sugar.
Sugar.
Anton Sugar.
I don't know, man. Z might have took out more people than he ever has. He was killing people since the youngest of ages with no remorse, and he might be one of the craziest psychos we've had in a movie. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, I mean, talk about savage scenes. You go a while with not really knowing how all these people at the motel die, and then it cuts to just this little kid shooting these people and then laughing. Like it's so pleasurable, and it's such a weird reaction. It's telling his character just doesn't give a fuck about anything at all. And not just that, like he's an insane person. So like he is basically essentially the perfect type of person to take charge in a world like that. So he does that. It's crazy.
Both these movies came out about a year apart. Training Day, I think, was 2001, and then City of God, was it 2002? Is that what it was?
Yes.
What movie do you guys think held up better between the two of them?
I can answer that. Watching Training Day, I kind of had a feeling that when we were going over our greatest movie list, it was kind of a high school favorite, and it was put on there that all of us, probably grade through 9 through 12, would have considered that one of the better movies of its time. I watched part of it on mute in the studio making a beat, and I turned up some scenes, and I from just looking over at the TV, I seen some things that seem corny, and I was even telling Beware, it's like it just doesn't seem like it is that realistic or whatever. That being said, I watched it again today, and I really did enjoy it. I didn't find any part to be too corny. It moves along pretty fast. I can't say it's unrealistic or nothing like that. I don't think that would be a fair assessment. But I would say City of God has more cinematography in it, and it's a little bit more beautiful. And it also, they pulled off a lot more stuff with how many extras and just how raw it was. Like, they're not telling the extras to act, and all these kids who were acting were so impressive. And I have more to say about the kids later.
So to answer your question, Savage, I think that City of God ages better. I think also because it's sort of like this, it's a period piece for them, for them at the time that they made it. So they did that really well. Just I don't know what it is about the cinematography that they do that makes it somehow look like the 60s. It's obviously the cars and the way that the city looks and like the way that people dress and everything, but like it really just has that, like, it's got like a tint to it that makes it seem like it's from that time. And I don't know, I always really enjoy that for films that are made from the 50s, 60s, 70s, that kind of thing.
So I didn't realize this, but Training Day is actually based off of, so Alonzo's character is actually based off of like a disgraced LAPD officer, Rafael Perez. And so a lot of that shit that like he got into and he did, and all it is, you said something about the unbelievability of it, and having having him smoke PCP or angel dust, and just kind of the scenarios were weird. Like some of those actually happened or like are based in truth. And so, and I didn't know that, but reading about that, I was like, okay, it actually kind of gave it a little bit more merit, because I felt the same way watching Training Day again. Again, this is one of my favorite movies, and I think it was I was the one that recommended kind of, or put it in the hat to potentially be in consideration for our thread. But yeah, watching it recently, it just, I guess you said corniness, and I think that's a good word too. There was something about it. The story is dope. The acting between both Denzel and Ethan Hawke is really good, and the storyline and how it kind of weaves together. And there's something that happens at the beginning that pays off, towards the end. All that's really, they're really nice devices, but there were some parts that were a little more cornier as compared to City of God, where it's a story about anybody living in, they call it the slums, and they're trying to make a life for themselves, and they're forgotten about, and so they're playing by their own rules and trying to get fame and fortune, kind of live fast and get to the top and get power. And that's, I think, that's a real story, and I'm sure it is a real story, again based on a real story, but like that's real, that's reality, it's still going on.
Doc, you made me think of is that there's just like zero presence of adult in that movie. Where you said you kind of like allow them to run wild and do their thing, and they've been forgotten about. It's just rewatching it, I just kind of asked myself at the beginning. It's just like there's no like part in the movie like it corny or whatever, but like a lot of like movies like this, they have a sort of an influence of like, what are you doing with your life and this and that. And the only thing that I can think of is when he goes to the motel to kill all those people, or no, they go to rob it and they're tying them up, and she says, you should be studying, what are you doing, you should be in school. And like, that's the last, famous last words. So I don't know, that's like basically only like presence of adult in movie.
We have big brothers and stuff like that, and a lot of people growing up under one of the scenes is with Rocket's brother, and actually I'll just read off a little quotable from that. He's talking about the gun, and Rocket holds it. He says, give me that, Rocket, it's not for you, you have to study. Getting shot doesn't scare you? He's like, I'm a hood because I got no brain. You're smart and you should study. And he listened to his brother, but that's exactly correct, is that there wasn't much influence, and not many people going to school too.
Yeah.
Beware, how do you think these movies aged?
I think both of them aged quite well. I think that one of them is inevitably going to age better than the other, because Training Day is set in one specific day, and specifically in the time and place of the movie, I think, like 2000s, like early 2000s, right? So everything about that movie feels 2000s, you know, the music's awesome, but it still feels like we're in high school. The scenery, a lot of the, you know, a lot of what's going on in LA doesn't look like that anymore. And
The
it's,
cameos.
yeah, the cameos, everything about the movie feels somewhat dated just because it's very 2002, which isn't a bad thing. It just is. Whereas City of God definitely feels like you couldn't, that movie is set in like the 70s or something like that, but it could be set in, you know, the 80s, 90s. I would have no idea. And that's
And
probably
it's
because
also
I'm,
like it's like a world unto itself. There's nothing really
exactly,
specific to it that you would
exactly.
recognize.
At one point, Cap, you were saying something like you like when these pictures look like they're filmed in the 70s or whatever. And I wonder, because I think they filmed this just outside of the City of God in the slums, because I guess it was too dangerous to actually film it in the City of God. But I wonder if that's how it actually looks. I wonder if they had to do very little, maybe some with the wardrobe a little bit, but I suspect that everybody was kind of wearing depleted clothing. Everybody, like
Yeah.
all the buildings were run down. I wonder if it wasn't hard to make it look like that period piece.
Just it extends over quite a bit of a period of time as opposed to Training Day, which is literally one day. It's a 1 day movie.
What a
And
crazy day it was.
yeah, what a one crazy day it was in 2002. But Doc, I completely agree. One of the notes that I had was specifically for City of God was all scenery and extras feel extremely real. Like, is that like, are they extras
Yeah,
or
so
the?
all the casting was local. It was all the
Yeah,
they basically
had,
wanted
had it.
unknown actors. The only person that was in it that was a known actor celebrity in that area was Carrot. Um, he was a play like he was famous for doing plays, I guess, at that time. But everybody else they wanted to be unknown, and even all the kids were just kids from the local neighborhood slums that were there.
Wasn't Little Zay like from? Wasn't Little Zay like from
From
the?
City of God. He just had no ambitions to be an actor or anything, and went to the auditions to accompany a friend, and just kind of I don't know. I guess ended up maybe looked a role, and he got encouraged to
Wow,
act and got the part. And he's
Yeah.
great.
been an
Too.
actor since.
Oh, he's amazing. Yeah.
We'll get to
Yeah, he
that.
did great, man.
Moving from that, I want to talk about characters a little bit, and I think what I want to mention is all the kids. I don't know if I've said it so much on this podcast, but I think kids can be vulnerable actors. They can kind of make things corny. They can make things unbelievable. This was so raw and good that every little extra kid did such a good job, and I really think they deserve their roses because there wasn't one kid that stood out like this kid's just not doing it. And it could be the case when you have everybody else, but the whole gang was really playing their part. But I'm going to say, I think my favorite character is who we're talking about, Little Dice. He to laugh like that. How can you be that young and know what insanity is? Is he just because he's from the City of God? He's soaked this up. He's seen it. How can you play such an evil part so young and play it so well? And that scene where he comes back in and you know, kind of clears out the place where they just made a good or you know, a robbery without hurting innocents and stuff like that. They're at the whorehouse. It's chilling, and I have to give him. He's my favorite character of both films.
And you're talking like
The younger version of him.
Yes, yep, yeah, Little Dice because he changed his name.
Yep. Honestly, man, like I had the same feeling. Like I felt like all their acting was so raw and genuine, and they all had like this swagger to them, like this that was unique. Like you couldn't act, and that was the like Zay or Lil Dice or just even all the other kid actors in the film were raw, bringing raw emotion, raw acting to it, and I love that. There's something real, but something really I don't know, presence there that was very unique and powerful that really contributed to I don't know the vibe of the overall movie.
It was cool that it came from the perspective of a photographer. I thought because he didn't have much to do with the story, and he was a good character to be telling the story.
Arguably, he has everything to do with the story because he was the one that got out of the slums to be able to tell the story. You know.
Well, yeah, exactly, right.
Cap, what would
He's
your
like the
favorite
only
character
one.
be?
Oh, favorite character between both. I don't know. It kind of feels like City of God isn't really the opportunity for characters to stand out. They kind of all play on the same sort of battlefield where nobody, people come and go, and it just doesn't seem like Lil Z stands out to me as a bad guy. But I think that for bad guys, I'll go with Alonzo. I thought it was a really cool, fun, strong performance from him, and I think he won Best Supporting Actor for it. I'm not sure, but it was a chance to see Denzel always would play the good guy, and in my opinion, I thought he played a really good bad guy. So it was interesting to see that.
So real quick, he didn't win Best Supporting Actor, but I'll get to that.
Well, he didn't?
No, he won Best.
I totally thought he did.
Oh wow, that's okay. There it is.
Him, I guess we're jumping to the end, but him and Ethan Hawke was nominated for Best Supporting, but Denzel won for Best Actor.
No kidding.
You know who he won it against too? This is crazy. So he won it against Russell Crowe for Beautiful Mind, Sean Penn in I Am Sam, and Will Smith in Ali. So he won it against those heavyweights.
Awesome.
Since you're talking about Alonzo, I kind of mentioned how he was based off of Rafael Perez. Let me give you a little rundown of this guy. So he was a Puerto Rican former police officer with LAPD, and he was the central figure in the LAPD Rampart scandal. So he was an officer with the Crash Task Force, which is basically what their narcotics was. And he was involved in numerous crimes, corruption, notably the shooting and framing of Javier Ovando, in addition to the theft and resale of at least 800,000 of cocaine from LAPD evidence lockers. Perez is accused of being a member of the Bloods and murdering the rapper of Notorious B.I.G. at the behest of producer Suge Knight. So this Alonzo is apparently playing the role of a guy who is supposedly the one who murdered Notorious B.I.G. in real life. And then
Wow.
when Perez was arrested, he implicated 70 other division officers in various forms of misconduct, ranging from bad shootings to consuming alcohol while on duty, and over 100 convictions were overturned. Basically, dudes that they had set up and framed those convictions were overturned based on Perez's testimony. Crazy. So
Fuck that guy.
The dirty cop.
Yep.
Facts with Doc.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that was the same person. I had no idea. And I've heard all the story. I'm familiar with that person, and I've seen this movie a million times. And I honestly did not know that those were one and the same. That he gets a huge fuck you.
Beware.
And Suge Knight too, man. Fuck him.
Beware. How about your favorite character?
My favorite character is Benny. Benny is we talked about in City of God how everybody is pretty much on the same even keel. I would say that Benny is the one person that stands out. He's the coolest guy in the slums, and he goes out of his way to get the designer fashion. I love those scenes where he's first getting acclimated to that. He gives him the big stack of money, and he comes back with the clothes, trying it on. The guys are clowning on him, but he does stick out, and he's doing it because he figuratively and literally sticks out. He doesn't want to be there. He's the level-headed guy of the crew, but just like anybody else, they just kind of get sucked into the madness of the slums and the City of God, and unfortunately, it gets the best of them. Just like it does, 9 out of 10 people. It seems like Rocket's the only person that doesn't make it out, or that does make it out. Excuse me. Benny is the coolest guy in the room, and he gets taken too soon in the movie. When I was watching it, I forgot how quickly that happened in the movie, and that was obviously a big bummer. But yeah, he's definitely my favorite, and I don't know the acting situation with him as I don't with many of the characters and actors in the movie, but he's excellent. The actor that plays him is excellent, and the character really does come across like that cool guy that you want to calm a room down. You know what I'm saying? I think that's.
I like when Carrot says, "You just killed the coolest hood in City of God," and then he just shoots him.
Yeah, I like that too, because he knows he's fucked. He's like, God damn, that was my bridge.
I can't help this guy.
He kept the hood at peace too. He kept opposing gang in areas at peace because he was so cool. And
I think that's part of the reason why he kind of starts negotiating between Carrot and Lil Zay, and that's like part of the reason I think you kind of see what's his girlfriend's name in the movie?
Angelica.
Like you see her noticing him being sort of take charge, but like peaceful kind of dude.
Doc?
Totally.
Yeah, I think what I want to add to Benny, because I think he's really critical character in this movie because he's the coolest dude, but he's also like the peacemaker, and he balances out Lil Zay. Like he makes him from not being too crazy, but then basically he's Lil Zay's only friend, and so when he's gone, that's where you see Zay not have his close inner. He doesn't have his sidekick, doesn't have somebody to kind of talk him down, doesn't have somebody to keep him relatively level headed, and that's where shit goes off.
And he listened to him. Z goes and tries to get a girlfriend. Of course, that's where a lot of tragedy happens. But like, he listened to him, and now he's not. Z ain't gonna listen to nobody. Cap.
Another cool thing they showed Benny do was sort of befriend. I think his name's Tiago, the redheaded kid, and like buy him some clothes, and then gets him to take some pictures. And like, I don't know, he just like sees that he's like a lonely dude, makes him a part of his crew, and introduces him to everybody. So he's like the big brotherly type to the whole community. Good pick. Beware.
Savage.
Yeah, I mean, I was bouncing around between everyone's favorite incel, Lil Zay, but I think it went more towards Knockout Ned for me. He's got the best, I think, one of the better arcs out of the two movies. Handsome, charismatic ladies man. He's got a story kind of breaks bad. Him and his girlfriend get into confrontation with Little Zay. Little Zay ends up raping his girlfriend and beating the hell out of Knockout Ned. And then Knockout Ned kind of wants to join forces with Carrot to take out Little Zay. And I think there's a lot of it's cool. I think I remembered him because when this movie came out, I remember that character really well. And then when Life Aquatic came out, I remember like, oh yeah, it's the same guy, and he's doing the David Bowie songs and Life Aquatic.
I didn't know that. So that's what got him the role. Then was that movie? Because we're saying that there's.
I mean,
I'd forgotten about that. Yeah,
he's
that's
a pretty well-known like Brazilian like guitarist, musician, like
he's a samba soul singer.
Yeah, he's sold a fuck ton of records too.
So no acting experience, but then he got into acting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that I get what you're saying. That's very
and
cool.
I just think his arc's the best. I think it's also kind of funny that his name they did a like kind of a funny translation, but I think in the movie his name was like Chicken Manny or Manny Chicken. And they wanted to translate it because for an American audience, a chicken is someone who's not like a tough dude. So they had to do the translation to toughen them up a little bit. So Knockout Ned is what stuck. I thought it was he's just a badass character. He's got a sad demise, but his arc goes fully fluid throughout.
I like him on the bus.
Yeah,
that's where you really get to see the gen of him. Doc, who is your favorite character out of these films?
I was actually going to say Knockout Ned, and for the same reasons that Will said, like the Breaking Bad aspect, the arc, and just he's the wild card. He is this badass. I think he has like military experience or something, and he's a sharpshooter. And I don't know. So I like that aspect. But I will give a little shout out to, I guess I would call him my second favorite character, but Rocket. I mean, I love his character. I think Super Gen. You see, we talked about this earlier on, but in the slums, like in growing up in the city of God, you have one of two choices. It's either you go this route, or you go to school and study, and you see him go this alternative route. But you also see him, his path is still intertwined with these hoods, and at any given moment he could get caught up in that really quickly, but he navigates that to separate himself from that. Every day he's living in the city God, it's dangerous, and just being able to get out and get an education and get the job that he got. And
he carries the love story too, doesn't he?
Does.
Which is nice. And yeah,
and he's super gen. He's a good guy. And I don't know, I thought that he was a good narrator for this movie or this story.
I like how he gets his break too. That was a really cool part of the movie where he gets to photograph Lil Z and all of his
totally
all of his crew, and like just how it just like sort of happened. He stumbled upon the job, just like they stumbled upon him, taking the photographs. So kind of just happened.
I like how he's confident too about it. It doesn't just not something he fumbles with. You know, he takes it serious. He executes. He knows
Yeah,
the
they
ram.
have to go. They have to go get him to use the camera, right?
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
He's down to go get a bag for that girl. You know what I'm saying?
I love
Hey,
that.
go get that bag for her. What's rolling up on the
Well, I
beach?
love too that going back to that the camera that he uses was the one that Benny I think was going to try to give to him anyways, and
Right.
that's the camera that he gets. And then I love how pissed he was that they took his photo and used it. I think he was more pissed or more scared like, oh shit, this might not be a good thing and I might get fucked because of it. In reality, that's exactly what Lose and his crew wanted. And it wasn't a money thing. But then when he brings it to the people at the newspaper, they assume it's a money thing. They give him the money, and then I love that he also like his first getting intimate is with that chick, and I love how that all plays out. It's
I only have one bed. It looks like you're gonna have to sleep with me.
awesome, man.
How about some quotes to throw out there? I'll go to Training Day. One of my quotables from Training Day would be when Jake and Alonzo are sitting down at the, getting breakfast, and he's reading his paper, and he wants him to tell him a story since he's interrupted in reading his paper. And Jake gets down and goes, "It was a real quiet night."
So it was a real quiet night. Boom! You never know. That's the point. Go.
Because you never know. He goes, boom. Because you never know.
Because you never know at that point, and we're gonna put that in right there.
I liked it when he says, when was the last time you smoked weed? He said it was in 12th grade. We were
Smoking weed.
Yeah.
smoking weed. Doc?
I think between the two movies, Training Day is more quotable. I think there's more great narrative in City of God, but the good quotes come from Training Day. And again, most of them come from Alonzo. I wrote this down, but I can't remember what scene it is, so maybe you guys can help me out. But he goes, "You disloyal
fool ass
bitch made punk." I love that. And then also where he goes, "Motherfucker, you shot me in the ass." I love that. And then
He shot me in the ass.
Yeah. And then we're after he smokes Angel Dust, and he goes, "Who are you?" And he goes, "I'm the Zigzag Man. Who the fuck are you?" I love that.
I got to get one in from City of God, and we've already talked about Benny, and he's getting his gear. He comes in. I've become a playboy.
Yeah,
that's pretty sweet.
That was good. Yeah.
What does anybody have this quote in front of him where he just goes, "I didn't know you like to get wet." That scene where he rambles off all the slang terms for it.
Dust, PCP, Primos, P-Dog. That's what you had?
Oh man, he said
You
it was
smoked
weed.
it. I didn't. You did.
One more from City of God, and I don't have who says it. I think it is Rocket. What better place for a miracle than in the City of God?
I like in City of God when he says, right when they're getting to the beach, it's like right when they're a little bit older and getting to the beach for the first time and you're getting to know the crew. And he said, sun is for everyone. The beach is for the people, for those who deserve it. I like that.
Yeah, that was good.
I also like in that scene too where he calls themselves a group of groovies. I've never heard that term before, and I like that. We're a group of groupies right now, and I'm into hanging with you guys.
I would have rather called you guys my group of groovies than hoods, but we got to do it. We got to be hard out here. It's survival.
For sure.
A couple of the quotes that come to mind for me is the part towards the end where Denzel Washington, as Alonzo said, what does he say? King Kong ain't got nothing on me.
Yeah, that's right. You better walk away. Go on, walk away, because I'm going to burn this motherfucker down. King Kong ain't got shit on me.
It's a quote you've probably heard referenced in multiple rap songs, referenced in multiple like blog writings and one of those like drops you would hear on the radio or something like that.
Which it was ad-libbed, which is crazy.
That's pretty awesome.
Oh, I love hearing that.
But my favorite out of the two movies is probably when they're showing the story of Knockout Ned. They're doing the bank robbery and they're explaining like the rules of the kill, like who, no killing. Knockout Ned is, pretty stringent on that rule for becoming a hood, as he doesn't want to commit any violence for any folks that don't deserve it necessarily. And he's about to get shot by one of the clerks in the bank, and Carrot ends up seeing him, and Rocket's doing the overdub, saying, and there's an exception to the rule, and it shows Carrot shooting him,
First
shooting,
exception, then
yeah,
second exception. Is that correct?
right, but so it says him saying like there's an exception to the rule, and then goes to Carrot like kind of like as he shoots the guy that's about to shoot knock on that, he said there's an exception to every rule. That got a little chuckle out of me for one of the few in City of God.
And that's a fantastic scene too.
That is so good. Yeah. That's a
It
great.
could be one of them. And we're going to talk about scenes now, and I'm going to go with my favorite scene. I really had to think about this one a lot. I wanted just to think of one, and I thought I was definitely going to pick Training Day just because I thought City of God was very cohesive, and it's just all the scenes were really good. I like the intro. There's been a lot of good intros to the greatest movies, but actually for this movie, it's going to be the outro or the ending of the movie. When Rocket is taking the pictures and he's going to use that to, to get his career. And that shit's intense, man. You see the corruption in the cops. So, you see Z laid out and him standing strong. Like he is, part of this, his own gang. He's of the gang of the people, and he's going to stand up for himself, and he's going to be on the front line. And it's pretty righteous. And I know Rocket was called as one of the characters. I think he's the most solid actor, and that's going to be my favorite scene. Savage, since you were talking about that scene in City of God, that's pretty excellent. What would your favorite scene of both films be?
So my favorite scene from both movies is going to be from City of God. It's when the gang escapes the motel robbery and they run back to the City of God. Specifically, Shaggy finds a place, a safe house that he can go to. There's a beautiful young lady there, and he's knocking on the door, and the mom answers the door. What are you doing here? What the hell? And he's saying that the cops are looking for me. And then this girl, Bernice, she lights this candle, and it kind of lights up her face a little bit, and it starts playing this music that I. I don't know if there's a more beautiful scene in that movie when you first see Bernice come to the fold. And she's obviously, not very approving of his lifestyle, of Shaggy's lifestyle, and obviously Shaggy's untimely death. And they think, well, when he's basically stealing a car, basically hijacking a car. But that scene though, with the music is pretty powerful.
Sav, you got real sentimental on that one.
And hey, the jams were playing right behind him. He could hear
my
it.
voice cracked a little bit, so
it's real. This movie, both of these movies are full of exclamation point fire induced scenes, and I like how you chose that one.
You don't believe in love at first sight. Now I do. I'm looking at him. His name's Savage. Beware.
Me.
Why don't you tell us about one of your favorite scenes from these movies?
Mine's the total opposite of that. It's the scene where Jake is gets abandoned by Lonzo at a card game full of Mexican gangbangers who are asking him if he's gonna get it, if he's ever had his shit pushed in.
Man, I had my shit pushed in, bro, big time.
So not quite that, but like your stomach sinks, once you realize what's happening in this scene where Lonzo's basically set him up to tie off his loose ends, and he knows that Jake's got to go, and Jake just obviously just so happens to, had a little bit of foreshadowing earlier in the movie that led to him making it out of this one alive. But when you're in the scene, like I remember watching that scene for the first time in the theater and not knowing what was going to happen, and I thought I was going to get Scarfaced out, and I you don't realize how it's going to tie it all together. So I just really like that scene because it's so intense. The fact that that it all comes together right there. The dialogue's crazy. Jake's the man for hitting him with the bottle. There's a lot going on in that scene, and I think it's definitely one of the many standouts in both of those movies.
And when Alonzo's on the phone,
sure.
Beforehand, and he's saying, "Hey, get the shower ready," or something about the shower, and it's like,
oh my god,
yeah.
So I'm gonna touch on that too. I don't feel like thinking of another scene that was also going to be my favorite scene. the bathtub scene where they figure it out. It's basically what the whole movie comes down to, is that like Jake's powerful, positive sort of attitude towards doing good ended up teaching him street karma in one day. And he's got, he just kind of goes into that hood with more power after having survived that. He had like, okay, this guy's gonna like actually try to have me killed, and not, it kind of sets it up for the final clash of the movie. But yeah, it's super intense, and you got to think back to the first time that you watch it, that yeah, he's got him right now. He's got him. There's nothing that could happen that could get him out of this. This is a business thing. These guys just got paid to kill him. Like, what's he gonna fucking do? How is he gonna get out of it? Like, it's the only way out is what happened, which is insane. So the fact that he went out into the street and saved some random girl from being raped by two crackheads earlier in the movie, yeah, and
it's all about smiles and cries.
Put the joint down, man. What the fuck is that?
Hold on, Lonzo. Hold on. Smiles and cries. Smiles and cries. Smiles and cries. I hear you.
Smiles and cries.
Yeah, you gotta,
smiles and cries. Thank you,
gotta
Cap.
control your smiles and cries.
Let's go to Doc.
Man, I think that one in Training Day that we just talked about was actually my favorite. Yeah, I think that the boys wrapped that up perfectly. Taking over to City of God, there were so many good scenes, and not like, I actually think all these three that I'm about to rattle off are all Savage scenes.
Savage scenes.
So the one, I think Shaggy, when him and the girl are trying to get out, and they're in the car, and he needs to get out and give it a push. That's heartbreaking. Is he's pushing, they kind of policia kind of figure out who he is and start shooting him down, and he's running and getting shot, and it's just heartbreaking. So I mean, that's a great scene, but it's awful at the same time. Obviously the motel robbery is fucking, when they do that flashback and Zay goes back in and just is chuckling and giggling at the horror that he's inflicting, and you kind of see that through his lens after you kind of know what happened. It's fucked up, but it's a great scene. And then this is my last one, but this is the one that actually got me super emotional. And it goes back to the beginning of when we were talking about these kid actors that were playing roles and how raw and kind of genuine they are. And like the scene where they have, I don't even think it was the Runts, it was like these younger kids. They go and face them because they're stealing candy from the store or whatever. And
it was the Runts.
It was the Runts. It was the Runts. And so they go and they face them. And they're trying to get toughen the one kid up. I think his name was Steak and Fries. And they're trying to toughen him up and giving him the gun and saying, pick one, who are you going to kill?
Worst scene.
After he shot the kid in the foot.
Hate that scene.
And
pick a hand or a foot.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that kid crying is so sad. He's such a cute little kid.
That came on when I was eating dinner, right when I started eating dinner. I couldn't.
So how do you think that kid pulled that off?
They shot him in the
some
foot.
crazy acting. Like,
no, it's different. So they initially he's saying he's gonna shoot him in the hand or the foot, and then he gives the gun to Steak and Fries and says, "Kill one of them."
Yeah. So
he kills one of them, but I guess what the director did was figure out what like the biggest fear this kid had, and then had him pretend that was what was going on. And apparently this kid's biggest fear was having a toothache. So he kind of, also the fact that this kid was terrified of the actor that played Little Zay too. So the fact that he's in a scene being confronted with a gun by Little Zay, pretending they had a toothache, that's him like, I mean, those are genuine tears. I mean, I have a couple 4-year-olds, and I see those genuine tears every day.
That looks like a Jen cry.
Oh, and then the other kid starts crying too off him. He's looking at him. You can see it. That's what I'm saying, man. Kids, we're all fathers. It's impossible not to watch kid actors, but you'll know when they're not that good. And you can't call that on any of these kids in there.
And let me say real quick, I ain't even mad that I was about to say all those things, but about that scene, and I didn't really even get a chance to explain the scene that was my favorite scene because all y'all jumped in and started talking about it. And I think that that says something about that scene right there. Is that like you guys all piped in and started saying, "Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah," and had some stuff about it. It's like, yeah, enough said right there. Like I didn't have to finish it. What I was gonna say, you guys did it for me.
There's a lot of powerful scenes in both of these movies.
Mhm.
That's one thing about Training Day. Training Day was real timely, man. There's a lot of things that were hitting home when I was watching that movie where the chokeholds were going on and he was saying, "Oh, I thought you didn't want to do the chokehold. I thought that was a banned move." He was like, "Man, I had to do it because I thought that was my only move. I thought I was going to get got."
They're kicking my
Like,
ass.
man, yeah, they're kicking my ass, and it was just like, wow, there's a lot of perspective in this movie
It's getting my ass
that,
kicked.
unfortunately, is still relevant as ever 20 years later.
And real quick, just going off of that too, beware. There's the scene where they're breaking down Roger, and something he says, "It's not what you can. It's not what you can.
It's
Something. It's
not
what you can prove."
what you know.
Yeah,
But
It's
again
what
similar.
you can prove.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a lot of details in that movie that we're hitting a little too close to home. And that shit,
What about the scene where they pull up behind the like the suburban white kids trying to buy pot and they roll up on them and
They were buying PCP.
they're listening to that fucking horrible song and they have that little glass pipe and the girl in the back is like she's so scared and I just thought that was a little looking back on Training Day was kind of like
College
a
kids.
little overboard
I got
or
deja vu.
something.
I'll tell you that.
2001. What did the movie come out? Training Day.
2001.
So this movie
Wow.
was actually supposed to come out in October or November of 2001, but they delayed it because it was right after.
Why?
Well, what we have here is we have The Chronic 2001 that came out. I don't think that year. Beware would have to confirm that, but we also have Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg in this movie and soundtrack from that movie.
And Macy Gray.
Yeah,
she was super relevant, like
and
during
Roscoe's
that time.
on the soundtrack.
Well,
and Tom Berenger's in the movie, so I mean, it's got everybody covered.
No, the one song too that aside from having Snoop and Dre in the movie and on the soundtrack and all sorts of dope West Coast features like we just talked about too, which are heavily in there. Cypress Hill's in there where they're walking into the Mexican gang, which is hilarious. But DJ Quick's on the soundtrack with his song with Dr. Dre, and it's probably one of his more popular songs, Put It On Me. And that's a song that we banged a lot on the Under the Influence album back then, but it was also on the Training Day soundtrack. And it was an Aftermath produced song. It came from that era. And it was, super dope. And that's probably one of his more popular songs. He's had songs he was in a Sopranos episode with the Second to None song. He was DJing in Entourage, but ultimately that's probably one of his bigger placements in multimedia outside of music.
I wish he would have acted in the film because that would have been my favorite character for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Snoop Dogg was great though.
What you need, homie?
Crack. $20? What
Crack.
Yeah.
Smell like bacon in this motherfucker. What, I look like a sucker to you, nigga?
We can't really talk much about the music in City of God, or can we? Savage, I like that you talked. I'm going to cue that music when you were getting romantic with us. I really do like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of timely. There's a lot of good music. I mean, there's some James Brown. There's some like kind of
you don't know
right. There's some like good like early '70s funk tracks, especially like during some of the DJing scenes when they cut to the '80s.
Well, that's not fair. Yeah, they were right. I shouldn't have said that. There was a lot of
no,
music.
but there's some good. Like obviously, Kung Fu Fighting is probably one of the bigger like well-known songs from the movie. Like I mean, it kind of happens during a pretty potent scene in the movie when they're playing everyone is Kung Fu Fighting and Little Zay is looking around and up to no good per usual. And a lot of good. There's a lot of good solid music. I mean, I had the volume cranked when we were listening to it and watched the movie the other day. You know, we had it cranked up, and a lot of the tunes really hit pretty good. It just not, you know, it's just more of like a an environment thing where it's like, you know, you're kind of submersed within Brazil in the, you know, late mid or early 70s, and then like sometime in the mid 80s as well. So you're hearing a lot of that kind of music that they would probably been listening to, and it seemed spot on.
You know what's kind of crazy? I just thought of is they never showed the statue in the City of God in the whole movie.
Right, yeah, the Christ the Redeemer. Yeah, I noticed that too. It's kind of funny. You would have thunk that would be a big, you know, helicopter. You know, it's obviously pre-drones, but like a big helicopter shot, swooping shot, kind of showing like the whole
Jesus was
city.
nowhere in sight.
No, he
I
wasn't.
kind of like that they don't though. It's kind of like, it reminds me of, we talked about it like a little bit, but like it reminds me of like Wes Anderson using New York but not showing
The Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where it's at. This is probably happening, and yeah, this story is in the City of God in Rio,
And
Brazil.
that's what like everybody knows too. And it's not. We're not going to give you what everybody knows. Did you know this?
So I kind of like that because I feel like that represents something, and maybe the contrast there, and obviously the irony of City of God and you know, the living conditions of the place. But yeah, no, I kind of like that they didn't. You kind of feel like that this is just some otherly world that you have no frame of reference to.
I've been going first every week for the last like 2 or 3 weeks for memorabilia. That's not fair. That's not fair. I got to go last.
My memorabilia is Lonzo's car.
Pre-shot up or post-shot up?
Pre-shot up, for sure.
There's a lot of things in both movies. But it's got to be that candle. It's just so beautiful the way it lights up the movie. Oh my goodness!
I'll take one of those cool old cameras from the City of God. Take some photographs.
I'll admit I really don't have anything good.
PCP?
Yeah, I was gonna say Angel Dust.
Oh yeah, changed my mind. Give me the PCP.
That's one of the reasons. I'll tell you what. One of the reasons that I originally quit smoking was because I thought I had smoked Angel Dust one time or PCP, and I will not take that. Although it was probably just on my head, I will not take that. Well, that scene when he does that, why does everything look green? Like a green.
Adam, I don't know you like to get wet.
I don't have a drug reference experience for you on this one. I have never smoked a cigarette dipped or twice dipped, even though I grew up on West Coast music.
When I did, it was crazy, and things were more orange actually.
Orange, okay, so they were way off.
So it's like this. It kind of catches the citrus element, I think.
Yeah.
So I guess if I were going to say anything, really, I just wanted to reference this, but I'll say something that kind of bothered me, that green tinge that things kind of did. Also, for some reason, I love Denzel's portrayal of Alonzo, but it bothered me that each time he showed his guns, he always clacked them together.
That's what you said, right? That what you said?
I like that. I like that.
I don't know why that bothered me so much. I was like, what? Like it's like I was like, that's exactly something that somebody who has guns doesn't do. You know, like I don't know. I don't know. So I guess my memorabilia would be the guns, but
That's so fucking funny.
He self-tears his own guns,
and they just clank together, and he rubs them together. Yeah, that's good.
I gotta say, hold on to it.
Nope. Your audio's bad, dude.
One of them.
Hey, keep this in.
He's wearing a lot more in the.
I'm seeing green. I'm seeing green right now.
That's a good item.
It's so green. I'm so wet.
It's so wet right now. Zara Bowl Zero.
All right. It's been happening the whole time. If I had to go for a piece of memorabilia, I might be trying to make a little bit of change and take one of Denzel's chains and maybe take that to a pawn shop. He wore a lot of jewelry.
I have so much jewelry, and it's not even about the jewelry, because
jewelry. And,
I'll take the Rogers score, maybe. How about that $4 million? What
wow.
do you think?
The Rogers score.
Why don't we go ahead and talk about awards really quick, Doc, because we already know one of them on the end of Training Day. And I know City of God was nominated.
Yep. I'll do this real quick. So kind of already mentioned Training Day. But it was 2002 Academy Awards, 2 nominations: Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, 1 win. So Best Actor, Denzel won. And I already kind of mentioned who he was up against, and so pretty big. And it's actually important because we didn't talk about who the director of the movie was, but it's Antoine Fuqua. When Denzel won, that was the first Black actor to win for a movie that was directed by a Black director. And then also Denzel became the first Black actor to win 2 Oscars. So that's
very
cool.
interesting.
Yeah.
Shout out Denzel.
Yeah, man, Denzel, one of his
and
best.
honestly, man, his performance is awesome. Like it's
awesome.
It's so good. City of God was nominated Academy Awards. Came out in 2002, but didn't until Miramax picked it up and released it. It wasn't eligible until the 2004 Academy Awards, and they got 4 nominations for Best Director, Best Writing Screenplay, Cinematography, and Film Editing. So 4 nominations, pretty impressive. They didn't take home any wins, but it's because fucking Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, like swept like all the ones that they were up for. So Peter Jackson won for Best Director. Lord of the Ring, or they won for Best Writing Screenplay, and they won for Best Film Editing. And then for cinematography, Master and Commander, the Russell Crowe movie, won for cinematography. So they were kind of outmatched in that. But obviously, we see that this movie stands the test of time.
Yeah, man, definitely. And just a bunch of people that weren't actors doing better jobs than actors is pretty crazy. Well, it's that time of the night, folks, where we're going to go to the vote. And, I thought about it a little bit, but I think the next movie I'm probably going to watch, unless it's on the TV and I'm just watching it as it goes on, it's going to be City of God. I'm going to show that to people. I'm going to recommend that. I'm going to keep that on my 64 greatest list and even move it to the next round if I had my way. So City of God for me.
I'll just say real quick, I don't want to dwell on it. This one actually was one of the easiest decisions I've had all our thread. And it's, although I was the one that originally recommended Training Day and it was one of my favorites, and it was, I got to go with City of God, man, hands down.
Savage.
Yeah, I didn't like Training Day. I liked it a little bit when I first saw it, and then rewatching it, I didn't really like it at all. So City of God by default, but I also think that City of God will probably go a little bit farther too. So City of God for me.
Cap.
City of God. No explanation.
Beware. Do we have a sweep?
Yes, City of God, better movie.
Well, Training Day, farewell. You had your day. City of God, you'll see another.
Against City of God will be against No Country for Old Men.
Oh,
ooh,
yikes! Well,
yowza.
Well, folks, we're talking about the greatest. We're talking about movies. I got a bunch in my hat, but while I'm shuffling up, let's go to that hat song real quick. Go.
It's a hat, it's a hat, it's a baby, it's a hat.
Let's go to the hat. Let's go to the hat. Let's go to the hat. Let's go to the.
Take your hat off.
Excuse me. Let's go to the hat. Let's go to the hat. Let's go to the.
It's a hat, it's a hat, it's a hat.
I'm shuffling, and I got one. Upside down. Inside out. And that's what we're all about.
Always upside down.
Because this is an interesting one. Next week for episode 15, 7 versus Donnie Darko. Donnie Darko, right. I will say, is maybe a cult classic film. I love it. It was one of the movies that made me like movies more. I swear I would have always considered it one of my greatest, probably top 20 throughout high school and into college. But it might be a cult classic film, but I don't have a mulligan.
Be interesting to watch that. I remember liking that in high school, but that could be another one of those movies that I liked in high school. I don't know. I remember liking it though.
Well, Cap, you do have a mulligan, and so does our doctor.
I'll try my mulligan.
Mulligan!
For what movie?
For Donnie Darko. Be another kind of battle of the directors. I'm gonna say try to get the master to go through.
I vote yes.
Hold on.
Isn't the master on it already?
That's what I was gonna say.
I don't think so.
It is not.
Sure it is.
It's not? I'm
No,
looking
it's
at
not.
I could have swore like that was one of our first. Like I had
thought
assumed
that
that was
too.
on there.
Oh.
If it's not, I'm excited about that because I've never seen The Master and I want to see that.
That's
Fucking
2 votes.
cool.
Beware and all it is, it voted yes. Savage, what's your vote?
Yeah, The Master 1,000 times. I can't believe it's not on there.
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no, actually, only because. So I recently saw The Master and I really enjoyed it. But Donnie Darko, I've actually seen recently too, and it's, in my opinion, it still holds up. And just comparing IMDb scores, The Master only has a 7.2. We just watched Training Day, which has a 7.6, and Will said he hated it. So IMDb, The Master,
That's a talk, Will.
And Donnie Darko has 8.0 on IMDb. And like, again, IMDb isn't everything, but just to give you a little kind of, if we let The Master in at a 7.2, that'd be the lowest rated movie that we've let into this bracket.
So with one member voting no, though, does the movie still go forward? Is that not our 80%? We've all voted yes, with Cap's vote, Mulligan being a yes in that. I think we have our 80.
It still goes through.
So, folks.
So let me just let me fight for Donnie Darko. Donnie Darko, time travel movie. It's about mental health movie. It's set in the 80s movie. It's got a great soundtrack movie. And it's Jake Gyllenhaal, his coming out movie.
Honestly, Doc, it's one of my favorites too, but I still feel like The Master would have way better chance in the 64 movie bracket as being one of the greatest. Philip Seymour Hoffman, we get a chance to really see him take the lead. And this, I'd say right now, if The Master was going against Donnie Darko, I'd pick The Master right now. And that's what I picked tonight. The Cap just used a successful mulligan. So next week we have The Master verse 7. Wow. Now, just to let you know, there's only one mulligan remaining, and that is the Doc. And we're moving, folks. We're going on to episode 15. Play that intro music by Beware, and we'll see you soon, folks.
Good morning.
Morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Well, it's very, homey.
What? Are you kidding? We got us a family here.
I hope you realize how you hurt my feelings.
I'm afraid you're just too darn loud. Next place.
Just take it easy, man.
I'm perfectly confident.
Yeah, waving the fucking gun around?
Calmer than you are. Look, I made a mistake, all right? It didn't make any difference anyway.
Hey, I'm letting it go. But don't say it doesn't matter. Every line matters.
Get off my back!
Don't fuck with my plan!
And like that, he's gone.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Our Thread Podcast, bringing our content to you, featuring all it is.
It's official, old buddy. Who has been.
Beware.
From then on, he was known as Benny the Jet Rodriguez.
The Doc.
You're the doc, Doc.
The Cap.
If you already know the answers to your questions, then why ask? Big fuck!
And myself, Savage.
I'm 6'5", 220, and there's two of them.